one engine feathered, and it's flying by itself. So that's really, really impressive. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Untitled Projects. Today is another review day. I know there's been a lot of reviews coming out recently, but there's been a lot of planes coming out recently, so it's justified. We're in Florida today at a place called Vero Beach, which is the HQ for Piper. And the reason why we're here is because I'm looking at overviewing, reviewing, just taking a walk around, letting you know what it's all about. The old Piper PA-44 Seminole, which was released a couple of weeks ago, I think now, but I just haven't had time to look at it really. I've been playing around a lot with some very light aircraft like the Aerolite 103 and the Kraken, and they've been so much fun. I've been neglecting my duties of flying my twin engines. So today I'm going to have a look at the Piper PA-44 Seminole, and it comes from Carenado, which do supply a lot of aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator straight into the market. So you can buy this in-game, which is useful. It means you don't have to dump it in your community folder or find a random place to download it from a mod website. It comes in at about $29.99, not about exactly $29.99, it's about 22, 23 GDP or squids, as we call it over here. So yeah, what can I say? I mean, you can't really go wrong with Carenado because texture-wise, look-wise, realism-wise, they're right on the money. It always looks ridiculously realistic. I mean, you can see the way this aircraft looks. It's really quite well done. The textures are just spot on. You've got all those little dents, all those little divots, all those little dings, everything that begins with D, and scratches and marks and everything you would suspect from an aircraft that is pretty old. I mean, these were all built in well, between 1979 and I think 1982, no, 1986 possibly, but I'll have to look that up. So they're pretty old aircraft, and they have continued to be built, so there are more modernized versions. This one, to me, looks like it is from the 80s, so it's pretty retro, it's pretty hipster. I like it a lot. So what can we say about the Piper itself? So it's the big sister of the Cherokee Warrior, and if you've ever learned to fly, or if you've ever flown in a light aircraft, the likelihood is it would have been either a Cessna or a Cherokee Warrior. Now I think this is a Cherokee Warrior, although I'm not entirely sure because it's not got any markings. So, and also it's got a retractable undercarriage. Now I know there is a retractable undercarriage for a Cherokee Warrior, a certain type of Cherokee Warrior, but I'm not entirely sure, so tell me in the comments. But so Cherokee Warriors were extremely popular for training purposes, and so is this. So the Seminole, the PA-44 Seminole, is a trainer, essentially. Its primary role is to train pilots from a single engine up to a twin engine. So that's what it's built for. Now it is used for lots of other things like sightseeing. I'm sure there's a lot of private owners that fly from estate to estate if that's what they're into. And it's also used in one military in the world, the Jordanian army. So they use it for, who knows, transporting diplomats. I'm pretty sure it gets used for drug running, not by the Jordanians, don't get me wrong, but it's a pretty good aircraft. I think it's very reliable. There's lots of them about, so you're going to be able to get lots of spare parts. So in real life, they are quite expensive. They're about $660,000. So that's a lot of money. Yeah, I mean, you could sell a house or two in the UK and buy one, and then you'd have to live in it. But yeah, that's a different story altogether. But anyway, let's dive in and just have a look at the aircraft as it is. So I've already said that it looks pretty nice, and that's absolutely right. It does. It looks amazing. It's you know, very true to life. I mean, even the details of all of these little areas are very, very precise. And even down to the fact that you can get your chocks out, you can have your external power, you've got your tow trolley, you've got your intake covers, and your pitot tube covers, and you can open your doors and your luggage door and everything. I just think they're really nice things to be able to do, because it gives you that idea that you can start from scratch, you can fly somewhere, and it's got that realistic feel. So I think they've done a great job. And even these little babies here, so true. Right, let's pop inside. So instantly you'll look at it and think, yeah, pretty vintage, pretty basic, and it is. And that's what's so great about the PA-44, because it isn't overcomplicated. I mean, there are many other twin-engine aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator that come as standard. So you've got the Diamond DA-62, you've got the Beechcraft Baron, you've got the Beechcraft King Air. Now, they're all a little bit more advanced. They're more technical. The King Air's got loads and loads of computerized stuff in it. It's got a pretty extensive GPS. The Beechcraft Baron is not far off. They all are more powerful. They've all got longer ranges. They've all got higher speeds. Now, there's something lovely about the fact that this is a bit more basic. This is a bit more fly-by-wire. And it's got those nice little sensibilities. So if you've ever been in a Cherokee War, if you've ever been in an aircraft from the 80s or from the 90s, you're going to like this. And you can just see from this texture and from the dirt and the distressed leather and the carpets that are always totally screwed, and the bits of plastic and the scratches all over the place, and, you know, the fatigued pockets. It's been used. And this is such a characteristic of these planes, these trainers, because they get used, they get abused, they get flown around for, you know, years and years and years. All sorts of different people, hard landings, bad weather, left outside. And I don't think they're cleaned that often. Some of the ones that I've been into have been pretty bad. I mean, the plastic's been coming off here. You know, this window's slightly open all the time. Things like that. So there's a certain charm that you get with these aircraft. And I think Carenado have done a really excellent job to actually map that charm and that personality into it. Alrighty, so before we get going, just a quick dial dashboard overview. We've got all our basic stuff here. Artificial horizon, altitude, all of these things you're going to need. Your airspeed, your directional instruments, your rate of climb and descent, your RPM, and all of your oil pressures and manifold pressures and everything that you need, your exhaust temperature there. And once you've flown this a couple of times and you've spent a couple of hours in here, it's actually all very simple, all very easy to use. Now, the radio navigation equipment is a little bit more complicated if you get into that at all. I know there's lots of other ways of navigating in Microsoft Flight Simulator by using FSPM, which is what I use, but also the inbuilt navigation stuff that is very useful. Here it is, sorry, the navlog. And everything else, the mapping software that's already built into Microsoft Flight Simulator is all very useful stuff. So you don't necessarily have to use this, but for those real hardcore pilots, this is all workable. It's all usable. You've got your buses, you've got everything. So pretty much everything in here so far that I've looked at is clickable. So you can open the doors, you can open your storm flap here. You can't use the radio, obviously, but that is vintage. I love that kind of stuff. Look at that. Nice. You can open and close these doors, obviously not while you're flying, because that's a bad idea. So you'll also see that your electrics are very easy to see. I mean, they're just a bunch of white switches. So anything to do with the engines, your left and right, it's all very basic stuff. There is a manual to follow, and it's probably got the smallest gear wheel that I think I've ever seen. And navigation systems turn on and off. Your fuel is down here, and you've got flaps and trim in your basic areas. Now, there is cowl flaps down here as well, and sorry, not cow. I always call them cow. Cowl. Sounds Welsh. And your carburetor heat, which actually doesn't seem to make a difference, but it's not that I can feel it anyway. So there is another really nice aspect to this model, which is you've got this tablet, which is just really useful. So we've got all our static elements here, so I'm going to turn all these off because we don't need them anymore. I can close the door. But nice. Good sounds as well. And that little lock too. And you can see that everything's gone. Our tow bar's still there, so let's get rid of that as well. So off. And, we're ready to go. And there's just something nice about that. It's just, full end-to-end gameplay. And then you've got your cold and dark cockpit. So we are actually at that point at the moment, so we haven't switched anything on at all. Then you can just click ready for taxi. So you can get that aircraft ready for taxi. Everything is pre-done for you. So that's pretty useful if you just want to get going and you just want to fly. And then you've got ready for takeoff. So you can click that and get ready for taxi. You can taxi to the end of the runway, or you can just go straight for it and take off across the runway and anything you want to do, basically. So there is a really nice level or different levels of complexity here that you can just go for. So you can just fly if you want, which a lot of people do want to do. Now it's got a takeoff checklist, which is really, really nice as well. So you can follow that, you can learn and understand how to do that properly. And it all goes down to landing as well and everything you need. So it's really basic, really good fun. So, okay, let's get it started. Get her into the air. I'll tell you a couple more stats when we're at the end of the runway. But let's start her up first. So what do we got? We have our mixture rich. Our props are fully forward anyway. We have our throttle just a little bit open there. Let's get our fuel on. Great sounds, by the way. Really spot on. And let's also get our cowls fully open. There we go. Master on alternators, fuel pumps, everything looks good. No, don't start yet. Okay, cool. Let's get some avionics on. Just in case. Yeah. Okay, left and right mags. So we should be good to go. Let's see what happens. Let's prime it. 3 times. Come on, baby, come on. Hoo-hoo. Lovely, lovely sound. That sounds great, doesn't it? Oh, this is exciting. Right, let's start our right engine as well. There we go. Let's prime it. Oh, let me turn that fuel pump off. It can be really easy to turn things off when you're kind of moving your mouse around, so you've got to be careful. I think that's probably the reason why I crash all the time. Now that is a nice sound. Look at that. Listen to that. Woohoo! Vintage beauty. Right. I'm going to get myself to the end of the runway and then I'm going to hit you with some stats. Okay, right, we're at the end of the runway. Ready to go. Just a quick little bit more info about how this plane performs. So it's got a cruise speed of about 130 ktas and a max of, I think, probably about 180. It's got a stall of 68 miles an hour, an altitude of 17,000 feet, and it needs about 1,500 feet to take off, and maybe 1,200 feet to land, and it's got a range of 1,000 nautical miles if you've got the patience to fly 1,000 nautical miles. So, God, she sounds lovely, doesn't she? Right, I'm going to throttle her all the way up, and we're going to take off, and then we're going to see how she performs in the air, which I think is going to be pretty nice. And we are also going to see how she flies with one engine, because the engines are counter-rotational, which means that it should be pretty easy to fly on one engine. So let's see what happens. Okay, ready to go. Parking brake off. Oh wow, really stable on the runway. Okay, moving up. That speed goes up nice and quick, which is good. I think we can probably rotate pretty soon. Let's rotate. Nice, very stable. Gear up. Flaps up. Yeah, very nice rate of ascent. I mean, so we're at about just over 100 knots of true airspeed. And now we're gaining. Very nice. Oh, looks really nice as well. Look at that. I have to say, this is a really, really easy plane to fly. In comparison to the King Air and some of the other twin engines, this is really takes off very quickly. The King Air takes quite a lot of runway to get airborne and really does sluggishly start off, but this really did accelerate quickly. So I'm going to get a little bit of height, probably about 4,000 or 5,000 feet, and then I'm going to simulate an engine failure and see if we can land again. Right, we're trimmed down now to a slow climb, which is lovely. Straight and level. I mean, it just flies straight. There's no other way around it. It just flies really straight. Going at about 110 knots there, so that's exactly what they said it would cruise at, more or less. And look at that. It's just really, really stable. I'll have to fly it in some bad weather to see what it's really like. But let's simulate an engine failure. Something I was talking about before is that the engines, both the engines are counter-rotational, which means that neither one of them is a primary engine. So that means if either one fails, you should be able to fly it pretty easily if you trim it right on a single engine. So let's do that now and let's see what happens. And then we're going to have to return back to the airport. So I need to close these. That was an oversight. So, engine failure. Ooh, here we go. Okay, so let's head straight back. There we go. So at this point, I'd be going Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Everything you need to say. But this is Flight Simulator, so I don't need to. And I'm going to aviate first, see if I can find that airport, get my nose on it, and then I'm going to trim it out. Okay, there we go. Trimming that rudder towards the good engine. Okay, that's pretty good. Flying on one engine. Okay, I think we're trimmed just about right. Yeah, just about there. Okay, here we go. Right, so I'm going to feather that prop on the left. See if that actually feathers. Oh, this is exciting. I like this kind of stuff. And let's just keep trimming it, because now we're going to get a bit of drag. That is realistic. Oh, I'm happy with that. Right, I'll continue my approach and we'll see how she... Right, so incredibly stable aircraft. That's trimmed towards the good engine, one engine feathered, and it's flying by itself. I mean, no autopilot obviously, but that's just trimmed out. So that's really, really impressive. Very impressive. So considering it's a pretty hefty plane, that's good. Right, let's go in for a landing and see how our speed works. Right, coming in nicely, too high, but that's okay because we've got lots of runway to play with, and I want to keep my speed up until that last moment because we've only got one engine. It's not going to get me out of trouble very quickly, so yeah, I've got to battle with this rudder just a little bit. Ooh, let's get back on that center line. We are coming in hot. We're going to lose that speed very, very quickly, I think. There we go, yeah, so flies really well with one engine. I would absolutely get this aircraft. It's really, really good fun. Yeah, what more can I say? Great, lovely plane to fly. So that's it, I think. At some point I'll probably come back with some navigational stuff once I've learned it. So I tend not to look at the navigational things very often. But this is just, I just enjoy flying. So that's it. Thanks for stopping by, clicking all that kind of stuff. Definitely good to get subscribers, just so you can get the content quicker, really. That's it. And it also inspires me to make better content for more people. So, yep, click it and all good. Anyway, thanks for stopping by.